All right, y'all. How y'all doing tonight? You know who I am. I'm Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit. It is late night. Well, not really late night. Kind of just early evening for me, But we got this thing going on Saturday, and I got to be making these candles, man. There's so much work to do. You can see I'm getting prepped and getting ready. I'm be up doing this for a minute. So we gotta make a whole bunch of candles. I'll probably be making them all the way up until late Friday night. But I wanted to come on and talk about this stuff. More tragedy, more tragedy. Some tragedy that has been averted, and other tragedy that unfortunately wasn't averted. You know, Let me share this article here. And also, let me put up my little copyright disclaimer here. And I should say also, you know, put up my disclaimer. The views expressed on the show are not the views of G2, but of me. Me and only me. However, all of those things said, fair use. Um, this article here, police officers in Berkeley, California, arrested a 16-year-old boy on May 30 after learning of his alleged plans to conduct a mass shooting and or bombing at Berkeley High. Maybe I'm wrong, but that sounds like actual affluent neighborhood there. The teen allegedly had been attempting to recruit other high school students to participate in the school shooting, according to CNN. After police were made aware of the plan, they obtained a search warrant and found several weapons and explosive parts in his home, the Berkeley Police Department reported. CBS Bay Area stated that the boy turned himself into police and was arrested on suspicion of possessing destructive device materials and threatening to commit a crime which could lead to death or serious injury. They have not identified the student yet. But that was one that was averted. Thank goodness. These mass killings are coming pretty, like it's like daily right now, right? There's another one here. several mourners shot at a funeral for a Wisconsin man who was killed by the cops. Multiple people were shot at a funeral on Thursday afternoon for a young man killed by police in Wisconsin this month. See if we can click in here and get more on this. According to the information from the Racine police and attendees, mourners were paying their last respects to 20-year-old Deshante L. King when gunfire erupted, witnesses said. Cortasia Thompson, 23, was there and said her aunt, Kendra Gamble, was wounded and is now in critical but stable condition. She was shot at the gravesite, Thompson told the Daily Beast. We just left the hospital. She was sent on Flight for Life to Milwaukee. We're going to Milwaukee right now. They just took her there. Thompson and Gamble was expected to survive, but was helicoptered elsewhere so she can get better care. This is from the Racine police. At 2:26 p.m., there were multiple shots fired at Graceland Cemetery. There are victims, but unknown how many at this time. The scene is still active and being investigated. We will update you with more when more details become available. This was at 1:47 today. That's not the only thing that happened today, unfortunately. Another shooting at a church. I may have closed that article down. Two women killed in the parking lot of a mega church. And the gunman apparently killed himself. And this was after yesterday's uh, deadly mass shooting in Tulsa at the hospital, where a man was not, I guess, displeased with his surgeon on his back procedure. Hey there, Kendra. So, what is safe? What is safe right now? Buffalo, grocery store, just shopping, elementary school, hospital, outside of a church, at a gravesite paying respects for someone else who was killed or deceased. What is sacred? What is sacred? Where's the place where people will say, I will not cross that line? I think as a nation, we are definitely in a new era. And I know that some would say the Black community has dealt with this, Black Wall Street, and all the other atrocities that has been suppressed and is slowly coming out. But this isn't just Black people now. I know tonight was a playoff game, right? Probably a really good game. Was that Celtics Warriors? May have watched that. Might be likely you didn't even know about the murder at the church or the attempted murder at the gravesite. And maybe saying, what can I even do about it, right? I've got my own problems, my own issues. And what I would say to that is, unfortunately, these things are going to affect you either indirectly or directly. Now, we have our politicians who are uh, doing their thing, right? Not really addressing the issue, if I'm giving my opinion, right? So people retreat to their particular political corners, and we get what we get. And then we get some of the more radical things where apparently it looks like Ohio, let me see if I can pull that up, is fast tracking a bill for teachers to have guns in the classroom. I don't know about you, but I do not want my daughter in a classroom uh, with her teacher having a gun. I do not want that. I don't think that's a good idea at all. I think that is, I mean, we've seen story after story. I mean, just this year, even teachers misbehaving and acting violent against some of their students. If there is a disagreement or an argument, a student talks back. Does a teacher say, I was afraid for my life? So I'm definitely concerned for our Black babies in that scenario. At the least, at the very least, a teacher losing it. You know, if you have these things, you're more willing to use it. Now, I'm definitely a proponent for guns. I do come down on that side. But like I said, you're going to be affected either indirectly or directly. And what the left wants to do is suppress automatic weapons, right? Okay. But I would ask you this. Let's say that they couldn't get their AR, they couldn't get their semi automatic rifle. Would they just say, nah, okay, well, I can't have that gun. I'm not going to commit this crime? Or are they going to use a handgun? I would, uh, I would bet they're going to use the handgun, right? I mean, there's got your Glock 17, holds quite a few rounds. Sure, you can't shoot as fast, but when you are shooting at other people that are unarmed, especially if they are trapped in a room, uh, I think the results are going to be very similar. Maybe someone's able to run away, but I don't think that is the answer. Plus, what is that going to look like? Do you just stop selling them? Don't know if you can do that. Do all the people that have guns right now, are they grandfathered in? Probably. So you're not going to go and take their guns. And I think it has been 18 months in a row that gun sales have increased. So this entire time, record gun sales, right? So what are you going to do with all these guns that are already out there? Huge issue. Huge issue. Here's the article here. Some Ohio teachers terrified over new bill allowing educators to carry guns in schools. This bill will allow teachers to carry guns in the school with little training. This article was today at 2:48 p.m. It's a video here. I'm just going to kind of read this a little bit. Teachers in Ohio are frustrated after lawmakers passed a bill Wednesday that would allow them and other school staff to carry guns in school safety zones with little training. The bill overrules an Ohio Supreme Court decision from last year that required teachers to receive gun training equivalent to the training received. Well, we can talk about the training that police officers receive. If signed into law by the governor, it would create a requirement of 24 hours for teachers who voluntarily choose to carry guns in school. I think the idea to arm teachers is a way for lawmakers to pass the buck on much bigger issues, Tate Moore, a seventh grade English teacher in Ohio, told ABC News. Moore said he is worried about the unintended consequences of teachers carrying guns in schools, saying something bad could happen. Yes, I think that is likely. It seems like more things are getting added to our plate and nothing is being taken off, Moore said. I'm just not sure how much more teachers can take. All right. Again, I do not want my daughter in a classroom where the teacher has a gun, or there's several people on the campus that have guns. Definitely concerned about that. And I do not think that this is going to bode well for our children, especially our Black children, as I said before. So this is very concerning to me. And we often talk about, oh, it's Florida and it's Texas, where you're going to see these things first. Oh, no, this is Ohio. And if you can make something happen in one area, then others are quickly to copy. It's usually how it happens. So, the reason why I put NBA or playoffs versus mass murders versus housing is because right now, technically, we're doing pretty well. And that's all subjective depending on who you ask, right? But we're doing pretty well. We're here in Kitsap County. We feel relatively safe. We don't have a lot of these things that are going on in other parts of the nation. Although we had a kid bring a gun to school, what was it, this week? We had an older man in Gig Harbor shoot someone who he believed was shoplifting out of a grocery store. That happened here. Right? So it is closer than we think. Oh, let me go ahead and zoom in on this. All right, let's see how that looks there. This is there have been over 200 mass shootings in 2022 so far. This article was written today at 1:49 p.m. Again, fair use. No, we won't subscribe. Before a man killed at least 4 people Wednesday in a hospital in Tulsa, there had already been 231 mass shootings this year in the United States, according to the Gun Violence Archive. It is the 20th since last week's shooting at the elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, which left 19 children and 2 teachers dead. Mass shootings where 4 or more people, not including the shooter, are injured or killed, have averaged more than 1 per day so far this year. Not a single week in 2022 has passed without at least 4 mass shootings. Okay. Mass shootings have been on the rise in recent years. In 2021, almost 700 incidents occurred, a jump from 611 in 2020 and 417 in 2029. Before that, incidents had not topped 400 annually since the Gun Violence Archive started tracking in 2014. So again, think about what that's saying, right? They started tracking in 2014. It never topped 400 mass shootings a year until what's that 2019. Then it went to 417. In 2020 it jumped by almost 200 or over 200. It went up another almost 100 to 700, and now we're already averaging 1 per day. We're only halfway through the year. Oh, here's your chart here. 2014, 91. 2015, 116. 2016, 121. 2017, 141. 2018, 106. And then we start to take off. 147, 155, 240, and 232, respectively. Right? 232. This is a year. Oh, mass shootings in the first 5 months of the year. Okay, so this is the first 5 months, right? We're on pace with last year. Wow. So, what do you think is likely to happen? People are fed up. People are feeling hopeless. You know, the thing in Tulsa sounds like something off of a TV movie, right? Man is upset with the doctor and goes and usually holds out the hospital hostage, right? But this is real life now. So what do we do? This is where we're at now. And right now, there's so many folks that are waiting on their eviction assistance, so they're stable. Right, well, stable. You have folks that are trying to hang on and they're busting their ass. You saw the video I showed yesterday of the single mothers that are running multiple businesses and working jobs and doing all these odds and ends trying to survive and still can't do it. So what happens when we've exhausted all of our resources? Savings gone. Friends and family can no longer support. Resources have dried up in the community. Then what? Well, folks are getting fed up. They're like, I have nothing to live for, and I want other people to hurt like I hurt. So, what happens when the evictions start? Really start? When there is no more stopgap to keep them in place, to push them to the top of the line so that they can get their rent paid. What happens when they get behind again after that time limit of not being able to evict if the landlord takes the deal? What happens when the landlords keep increasing the rents by 10, 15, 20, 40, 50% in areas and people can't live? What happens when people are relegated to putting their personal belongings in storage, living in their RV, and then being told, well, you can't leave it here, you can't park it there, you got to move this. It's not safe. What do we do when those that are in a housing encampment are displaced from there? I was talking about this yesterday. What do we do when both sides are being squeezed? When those that are going to work, taking care of business, can't. And they feel like I've done nothing wrong. I've tried. And what I see is resources going other places. Again, charity starts at home. What I see is people on political lines blaming the other party while nothing gets done, while they live high on the hog. What happens? What happens as families are torn up? What happens when the person who needs help, and it's many people in the family now, not only exhaust their own resources, but then exhaust the resources of their extended family and friends? What happens? We have Kids at Public Health coming on tomorrow at 11:30. Don't miss it. What happens if we have to shut down again next year because of COVID or something new? What happens when midterm elections get here and both sides are saying they can't do something because the other side is not willing to compromise or reach across the aisle? And while those things are happening, you and your family are being negatively affected by that. What happens? And while you and I would not make that decision, there are so many more people that are like, I don't have nothing else. I've tried. I fought the good fight. No one hears me. No one's listening to me. No one's helping me. They joke, they mock. Their behavior is criminal, and nothing actually changes. And then the few people that are in these spaces that actually want to make the change, they're so far and in between, far few and in between, that they're shouted down. They can't push the agenda far enough, fast enough to invoke the change that is going to stimulate the change to help folks. I mean, let's be honest. Let's say there were several people that were going to run in this midterm election, and they all had the answer that we wanted that was actually going to solve homelessness. We don't know what that is. I'm just saying that's what it is, variable X. Let's say they're elected. Say it's one person. How long does it take that one person from the time they're elected, from the time they're actually able to present, win people to their side, and push it through successfully, if they're even able to do that? That's why these things aren't an overnight fix. That's why most of these things never get fixed, right? But it's like we're not paying attention to things. We say, "Oh, tragic." Our prayers and thoughts. It's so standard, right? It's like a greeting, like "Good morning. How are you?" "I'm doing fine. How are you doing?" Right? Someone dies. Oh, our prayers and thoughts go with the family. We are grieving like the family is. It's like stop the cap. You couldn't be grieving like the family is. Why even say something so faultless? So what do we do? Maybe we watch game two. Say, yeah, well, you know what, More? That's not here. So, yeah, it's horrible. It's bad. I feel for him. I really do. But there's nothing I can really do about it, and I can't live my life and be stressed out, and so I gotta focus on me, and I gotta focus on my family. Okay, that's your right. That's your choice. Oh, I would never be in that situation. I've made sure I'm gonna be okay. But a lot of these people thought they were gonna be okay too. That man had that surgery done, expecting to be healed. Not that he would feel so whatever he was feeling, that he's gonna come and kill multiple people and then kill himself. So what are we gonna do? You could say, well, I really can't think about that right now. You know what? I'm not even watching the game, man. I don't even have time for that. I'm working two jobs, right? I'm protecting my meat, my money, my energy, my attention, and my time. I'm out here doing the most. I'm trying to get the bag. I'm trying to make sure that I can pay my rent and pay my bills and pay my insurance, pay my car note, keep my lights on. I'm trying to save money. I'm trying to prep for what could happen. Most of us aren't. I continue to have these conversations with folks, and folks kind of fall into a few different categories. A category of kind of hopelessness. I don't know what you want me to do about it. I can't fix it. They can't fix it. I can't fix it. The feeling of, you know what? I got other stuff going on. I can't even think about that. Some people fall into the, you know what? I'm only trying to feel good vibes. I can't. I'm not trying to deal with that. It's tragic. It's bad. It is what it is. But I've got no bandwidth for that. I'm trying to just stay in a good, healthy space and just live my life one day at a time. You have folks that talk about it and just talk and talk and talk, but there's no uh, engagement. They don't try anything. They don't implement anything, either personally or collectively, through themselves and their extended family, or through their neighborhood, or through their peer group, or through their community, through an organization. And then, of course, you have those that are prepping. I would say the Noah's Ark people, the ones that could see what is going to happen because these politicians show you who they are. That saying is, when people show you who they are, believe them. I have these debates with people all the time. It's like, saying versus do. I'm not a big person to want to hear, I'm sorry. I'd rather you show it to me. People say it all the time, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. If I've offended someone, I apologize, right? And it's like, again, stop the cap. So I'd rather you show me, you know. Oh, I love you. You know I love you. Do you? Yeah, yeah, I love you. I love you. And then they're doing all this crazy stuff to you. So yeah, I'd rather you show me. But I actually also want to hear it too. That was the thing I was saying a little bit yesterday about giving people their roses while they're here. There's always that thought on why is this person being the way they are with you? What's their motive? Is it truly out of the goodness of their heart? Is it because they got something out of it? Right? Man, I'm doing this over here with you because this is really helping me in this way, in this way, in this way, in this way. And so that's why I'm doing that. Really not even about you. I need what you got. And so I'm going to put myself in your orbit to get those things. And when and if I can get that somewhere else, I'm outie. Could be that. So what is it? What is it? It could be fair weather friends. You know what that term means, fair weather. If they're your friend when it's good vibes and good times, when things are going well, when it's time to turn up and celebrate. But when it gets hard, when there's conflict, where there's disagreement, deuces, I can handle that. What camp do you fall into? Sometimes we'll say, you know, I'm a person that I don't deal with any BS. So I'm not going to be around that. I ain't got time for the drama. Where they say, keep that drama, tell that drama to your mama, however that saying goes. I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for that. And oftentimes, I think they use that as an excuse to exit stage left, right? That's their out. Because oftentimes the people that say that got a lot of drama going on in their own lives, if you've ever recognized that. But somehow the drama they're experiencing with you is somehow the straw that broke the camel's back. But when you listen to their stories and their drama, it's like, my drama is the craziness? Is the too much? Okay, I got you. So you don't know what's what. So that saying of believe people when they tell you who they are, you know, there has to be consistency in what you say and what you do. For me, one isn't good enough. We expect folks to be able to decode and encode the communication that comes in from the other person. It's like, well, no, I don't tell you this, but I show it to you. That should be good enough, right? I show you all the time. And yeah, if I stop and I think about it, okay, you do this and you do that, and that's really helpful, and you didn't need to do that, and I'm very grateful for that. But it's good to hear it too. And on the other side, it's like, well, you say all these things, all these really nice things, but you never seem to be there when I need you. I can't really count on you. I don't know what I have. You're telling me these good things, but it's not translating, at least not on a consistent way. So I think both is important. See, we expect that the people that are in our lives that care about us and we care about them should just understand. And that's not how it works, right? It's that positive reinforcement. I think those things are important because I would submit that for whatever these motives are, because there's a wide range, right? Racism, back pain. We don't know what it is with the little kids. We don't even know what it is with the two women that got shot outside the church. But it sounds like clearly they did not have a solid unit around them that was encouraging them, that was helping them. And it gets to a point where they go ahead and do what they got to do. Now I got to keep making these candles. I'm up here bumping my gums. Now it's getting to the point where I am literally making the candles now, like every aspect of it. I'm cutting the, let me change this camera. I'm cutting the wick, let me get my little measurements. I got my length right. I'm cutting the wicks. I'm crimping the base, gluing it to the bottom, doing it all now. No pre-made stuff here. I'm getting it. Again, for me, this is relaxing, fun. You don't have to rush. Be a little messy, does take up a little space. I am making a lot of candles right now. But we're just gonna go ahead and feed that through here. Whoops. Try to get that in the camera so you can see. It's better to feed it through the back because it's a little bit longer there. I'm just gonna feed that through. Just leave a little bit of wick on the bottom piece. There's a little kind of divot here. I'm gonna just stuff there. Grab my needle nose pliers here. Take my pliers and go ahead and crimp it. All right. And one of the things I learned is, you want to be careful when you're crimping it. You want to crimp it so see how it's just kind of coming through. You want to crimp it so it's tight, but when you crimp it, you don't want to crimp it to where you warp the bottom piece. See how that's not kind of a circle now, it's kind of bent up. So you want to make sure that you kind of keep that flat because you want that flat surface. So when you put your sticky on there, it does a good job of sticking on there. All right, so once we got that, oh yeah. And I love doing candles in what they call these mason jars because it's kind of a double gift, right? Oh, there we go. So not only do you get to burn a really nice candle, which is really good for your mood, but you also, if you've got some color in there, that's great. If you've got some essential oils or some of your favorite scents, that's fantastic. But when it's done, you can either give it back to me and I will make another candle for you at a discounted price because you recycled, which is great. Or you can use these for spices, keeping little knickknacks, screws, all types of little small things, right? Very versatile. It's really cool. So I love using things that have a dual uses to them, right? And I pre-did these, so they were all done. That's why this is going so quick. This part usually doesn't go that fast. I've been at this for, it's 11:30 now. Oh, I've been making candles for the past 6 hours, taking a few breaks to talk and whatnot. But for the most part, I've been getting my grind on, y'all. And I'm going to be making, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, making about 75 to 80 candles for sale on Saturday. I can tell you, you're going to want to come Saturday. Not only are we going to be giving away candles as a prize, valued at, I think $10 when we give away some $10 candles. But we're going to have some bigger prizes also. And, the only requirement is going to be that you subscribe to the Conduit. And if you already have subscribed, then, we'll have you either share or maybe subscribe. Some people, follow us on Facebook, but not on YouTube. So we'll have you subscribe on YouTube. We'll have you share a video. We're going to have some bigger prizes also. So you're not going to want to miss coming down. Plus, there's going to be a lot of good food, a lot of good people, hair braiding, art. This should be a really good event. I'm looking forward to this and seeing some old familiar faces on Saturday. So I will be there. I'm going to be late, unfortunately, because I now have a podcast that started back with the Rev. That starts at 1 p.m., right? The No Cap Recap with Pastor Ellington and myself, doing a deeper dive on his sermon and just going a little bit deeper. And so it's important to be consistent in what it is you do. It's very easy to say, well, I know we started this thing, but this is going on, that's going on. I just can't be here for that, And I think a lot of people miss out on how important that is, especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur, right? See, when you go in and you work for a big company, yeah, not really a big deal if you don't come into work or not, right? The machine is so big, it's kind of on autopilot. Yeah, if you're a manager and you don't show up and you're no call, no show, yeah, it's going to be a hardship for that day. Might be a hardship for a week or so, until they can get a replacement if someone else can't step up. But those organizations are just going to keep on moving on, right? I think fast food has a high 40% turnover rate, may actually be more than that. So they're used to it. But smaller organizations do not have that luxury, right? You don't really get to have sick days. Once you stop, the business stops. It does not continue on if you're not doing the work. So whenever you don't feel like it, whenever you're in your feelings, whenever you're sick, sad, want to turn up, want to do other things, as soon as you do that, and you divert your attention to something else, business stops. It does not grow. Matter of fact, I would submit that it's probably immediately starting to decline. I look at a business as a car in downtown Seattle on one of those steep hills at a red light, and you got a clutch. Yeah, really, you can have an automatic. Even in those on those hills, they're so steep. Uh, if you don't kind of give it a little bit of gas and keep that momentum going, you're going to have an issue. Oh, then those popsicle sticks from Layla, well, I got to drill holes into these. So, like I said, right now, I am doing it all. We are doing it all. Every single step, every little step I take, you will be there. Every little step I take, we'll be together. Right. Got to do it all. Now, what's good is, using these popsicle sticks. These are reusable. A lot of pieces are. So for the candles that I make for myself, I need to reuse uh, obviously the wicks and the wax. I wonder if these are actually long enough. If I broke them in half, would I be able to get? I might. Let's see. See if that works. Uh, anyway, I gotta use a new wick. I've got to use a new wax, but I don't need to use a new jar. I don't need to use uh, a new wick holder, and that actually worked out pretty good. This one might be a little short. We'll try it. We'll see if it works. I'm using what I have right now. So normally we'd want to use the thinner tongue depressors or popsicle sticks, as it makes it easier to pour, right? It's covering quite a bit of the mouth up on the candles. So typically we wouldn't want that, but I gotta use what I gotta use, right? And then I might have to rebuy Layla some popsicle sticks. So we're just gonna go ahead and break these. Yeah, that seems to be working okay. Get our drill on. I look forward to Layla coming back so she can get some experience using some of these other tools, like using some needle nose pliers and using the drill. It's important that you teach your kids how to use these tools, right? Eventually, she's going to be living on her own, and I don't want her to have to constantly be calling on someone for help. I want her to be able to do, small and medium-sized projects on her own and not to be afraid of it. And just the more that you expose people to these things, then the more comfortable they get with it and the less fear they have. And although they're not doing it every day, it can come back to them really quick. Like, oh, yeah, yeah, I've used a drill before. No biggie. That's easy. So I want her to have those experiences. One of the blessed things about my little one is she loves crafts. So she already loves working with her hands and building things and creating things, right? Very creative. And so that helps. And so I just want to stimulate that and support that in her to continue trying and definitely working with her hands. And we all have our preferred learning styles, but doing is a really good one, especially for boys, right? Boys and girls kind of learn different ways. Boys, girls work better with kind of more lecture, reading. Boys tend to do better with actually doing it. And so you want to kind of build all of those styles, right? Cultivate the good or their strengths and build on and then reinforce, well, not reinforce their weaknesses, but, practice on their challenges so that they can decrease the weakness that may exist, so they can do what they need to do. And again, it is going to be very difficult, unfortunately, for our children as they go out into the world. Very, very concerned about the state of the world for our kids going into adulthood and trying to make it on their own. Definitely worried about that. And there's just not a lot of money out there for them to, have to call someone in every time they need something done. So the more that she can do on her own, the better. But I also don't want her to believe that she is strong and independent and that she doesn't need the cooperation and relationship from a man. And when I have conversations like that with folks, they tend to get really triggered on that. And for you, since we don't have these conversations that often together, what I mean is man, not male, right? Responsible man, not a male. Those are two very, 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 very different things. And I think folks tend to take that in the worst way. What are you saying? Well, I'm saying on both ways, where a woman needs a man needs a woman. That I truly believe. And as I was trying to express yesterday, well, you're living in the world. You know what it's like out here, trying to make it and maintain. So you can struggle. That is your prerogative. All right, so on, let me show you this here. That's in camera here. Let me switch. This is a, some kind of, it's an adhesive, right? It's a wax adhesive. So I just scrape a little bit off onto my tongue depressor. And I'm going to put that on the bottom here. Just kind of spread it like you're putting frosting on a cake. I want to kind of get it evenly distributed. I don't need to just cake it on there, but I do need to have enough on there so that I can now take my jar, right? And we want to try to center this in the center, okay, as much as we can. Now I've got really big hands, so it is a little difficult. But remember, now the bottom of this particular jar is, what's that, concaved? And so it's got an arch in it. And so what I'll do is I've got my scissors here. And I'm just going to take my scissors and just push down on all the ends there. And I just want to make sure that enough of that base adheres to the bottom of the jar so that when I pour my wax in, this doesn't move. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm not going to pour the wax in here right away. I'm actually going to let this sit for a while and let this kind of let the adhesive do what it do before I pour the hot wax in there, because I really do want it to stay where it is, right? I don't want this thing moving off. And the best way to do that, I believe, is just to give it a little bit of time after I get it stuck in there. So now, as you can see, I've got it in there at the bottom, and we can put our, I'm gonna fish our little toothpick, a little popsicle stick through there. This is a little tight, so I'm gonna open that up a little bit, make that hole a little bit bigger, make it easier for me to fish through, because we've cut the wick, and so it's gonna fray a bit, right? And now we're doing this, and the reason why we're doing this is this how it allows us to keep our wick nice and straight when we pour, right? Once that hot wax and that liquid hits the wick, it's going to want to try to buckle. And so now you've got that stick in there. One, it keeps the wick from falling in, but two, you can get it nice and taut. If you can see, let me turn that sideways for you, and you can see it's pretty much straight up and down, right? Now they have some ones that have locking pieces. Like this one is a really nice one here. Like I can switch that out just to kind of show you here. This metal piece we can put on, and it's got some raised edges or receding edges to fit different mouths. And there's a little notch on there, and I can just kind of pull that over into the notch, and that will also keep it straight. So we're going to pull it kind of taut, and then we're just going to slip it in there, right? And now when you look at that, I can kind of just shake it around, right? So I really love these things because it holds it firm, and there's no way that the candle is going to push that, or the wax is going to push that candle off of center. So these are really great. Love those. Either way, either method you use, you do need to just make sure that you pour slow. So that you need to do. Now, since this is kind of has a bubble at the bottom, kind of like at the bottom of a wine bottle, I'm actually going to just take my hands here and shape this in the shape of the bottom, right? And I could take my needle nose pliers and kind of bend it over a little bit and help it, right? Just a little bit. So more of the surface is on the bottom, right? The other one wasn't quite so. And take my little tongue depressor here, my popsicle stick, scrape a little bit of these. Probably should use something metal and not this wood. I've put in there so many times, it's getting ready to break in half. I have put that on there to its breaking point. Like I said, I just want to make sure I just spread it on there good. I'm just going to let gravity kind of take it down to the center here. I'll try to do that for you right in front of you. Okay. And now that it's in there, I'm just going to take my little scissors, and I'm just going to push down on each side and let that adhere to the bottom of the glass. Now, rubbing alcohol, like if you're going to reuse your candle or you're going to use the jar for something else, a little rubbing alcohol after you clean it out really well goes a long way to get that wax out. And what I have found is one of the best ways to clean your candle jar out for further use, get yourself a candle warmer. Get yourself a candle warmer. So no candle really is going to burn all the way to the bottom, right, where there's just nothing left. But even if it did, it's still going to have, the base of the candle, that metal piece. It's going to have that little bit of wick that's left over, right? See how that's nice and straight? And then it's going to have, a little bit of the soot and stuff from the wick burning. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, or the best way to do that is to put it in grab another wick here. Whoops. The best way is to put it on a candle warmer, turn it all to a nice liquid, and then you can pour it out, and then you can clean it out while it's nice and hot. And I've got this metal pan here, and so I will, I think it's called double boiling method, where you put the water in the pot, bring that to a boil. I do usually leave the jar in there. I don't put it in there. I just heat it up while it's in there. I don't wait for it to get hot and then put it in. I just do it all together. And then that also allows me to clean it. So if you have like a rag that you use, that works really well for me because I can stick my rag in there with a metal spoon or my little candle utensils, scrape the bottom, scrape the inside, get that adhesive off. Sometimes that adhesive, the wax will come out, but the adhesive will not. And, just kind of naturally. So you'll have to do that. And so that works really well. That works really well. Okay. Well, at least that is what I have found in my experience. That is what I have found. So, yeah, I know it can be, I should have pinched this before I put that stuff on there. I know it can be difficult to, process all of this. I know a lot of people are very emotional about what's happening across the nation with all of these murders. And it, you know, it's right now, there's something for everyone, right? So some people can't empathize with the murders in Buffalo. Well, they damn sure empathize with the children. If they don't empathize with the children, then they empathize with what happened at the church. If they don't sympathize with what happened at the church, you get what I'm saying? Like there's literally something for everyone right now. Just we are in a really bad place as a nation, and I believe that taking guns from people is not going to work, right? Just going to continue to drive people away, whether it's rational or not. Their arguments, it's what they believe and it's how they feel. So it is what it is. But I think there's another insidious thing that we need to consider, especially as Black Americans, and that is the fact that historically, when you think about, again, institutionalized systemic racism, we have seen so many stories. I've shared a lot of stories, and I can't even share them all, right? Otherwise, if I did, the channel would just be that, all of the wrongdoings in the world, in the United States. But what we see is we get charged. We get hit with RICO statutes. We get overcharged. We get charged with felonies. We get all these things, right? get imprisoned. The problem is that other groups are not being treated the same way. And so if your assertion was, hey, you know what? You did the crime, you do the time. All right, I could get with that. But then that needs to go for everyone. That can't just go for our community. So there's no allowing someone to retire and get their pension because they're a year or two from retirement or 6 months. There's no, oh, we don't want to ruin his life, so we're not going to charge him. We hear that on some heinous things, right? What was the one rich boy got off because they said he had what was it, influenza? He was too rich to understand. I mean they come up with all kinds of stuff, right? When we look at all of the female teachers in our schools that are raping our young men, our junior high and our high school students, and they barely maybe lose their jobs, really don't do any jail time. Think of the Mary Kay Letourneaus, the police who lie on police reports and do other wicked things and are able just to move to another department or not even have any consequences, right? And it's like, well, the college dorms where all manners of drugs and underage drinking take place. But then we're told, oh, we don't want to ruin their lives. They're just kids being kids, right? Of course, you go to college typically when you're 18. So some of these kids are actual legal drinking age, but they're doing hard drugs. And nope, it's all good. They're serving minors. Nope, it's all good. You can go to any college campus every weekend and give everyone drug charges. Well, not everyone, a good portion of them, drug and alcohol charges. But that doesn't happen, right? But in our communities, those things do happen. So if you're going to do it for everyone, do it for everyone. Give everybody the same hammer. Then I really don't have any complaint. I don't have anything to say. And it's just a thing of don't do crime if you can't do the time. But if people are going to be dealt with in a different way, listening to an article earlier, I believe it's a Baltimore cop. He's coming off work. He's in full uniform. And he's walking. I think he's working for Parks and Rec, right? I mean, full police officer, badge around his neck, vest on. It says police, all this, right? Cop ends up arresting him, tasing him because he feels like he's a fake cop, which is bizarre, right? He loses his job. The guy goes after him. The officer that arrested him goes after him, makes sure he loses his job. And now this ex-cop who lost his job is just now getting around to suing the department. The guy lied on the police report and a whole bunch of other crazy stuff. But no matter what happens, taxpayers might pay out a multi-million-dollar settlement, but he's not going to go to jail. He's not going to get charged with a felony. He's not going to lose his weapons, right? So if you're going to do it to one, do it to everyone. That would be fair. So again, in our community, we get charged with felonies more. And unfortunately, we get so caught up on the police piece of it, right? The police, at the end of the day, they do the arrest. You know where it really gets you? The prosecutor. Because the prosecutor doesn't have to take the case. They could just drop the charges and tell you to keep on pushing, right? That's why when they give you your Miranda rights and they tell you have the right to remain silent, you need to be silent. Anything you say can and will be used in the court of law. Police are able to lie to you. It's legal. So when they tell you cooperating with us is going to make it go easier on you, we're going to tell the judge that you cooperated. Stop the cap. Don't believe that. They just told you everything you say or do will be used against you in the court of law. But we're in this position. We've been arrested. Whether we're guilty or not, we believe that if we can just explain it, they'll understand. Or just like they do on TV, right? Which is really propaganda. It's fake. It's fiction, everyone, right? And they got them in the interrogation room, and Gibbs is interviewing the perp, and he's like, you can tell us, and we'll put in a good one. Maybe we'll put in a good one with the judge. Now Gibbs, he plays it more hardcore, right? But many of the other ones, they're cutting deals. We don't want you. We want the big fish. So you tell us what we want to hear, and we'll let you go, or we'll give you this lesser charge, right? Or they'll say, we'll see what we can do. They're not even promising you because they don't have the authority to do so, right? But you're sitting in that holding cell. You're sitting in that interrogation room, and they putting the heat on you. And you're like, oh, man. I'm just going to have to go ahead and say what they want to hear. Maybe it'll go easier on me. I have to pull up some stats for you guys so you guys can see how many court cases end up in a plea deal, right? So what they do is they, like you see on TV, they throw the book at you, right? Throw the book at them. And then they're going to offer you a plea deal. So they'll throw out one or two things, right? They'll drop down the charge from this degree to that degree. And all you need to do is just plead guilty to this other piece. Now, it might make you a convicted felon, but you don't get much time. Oh, it might reduce your sentence, whether you got a gross misdemeanor or whatever the case may be. And well, you got a public defender, right? They just now seen your court case, and court has already started. You ain't got money to bail out. You ain't got money for counsel. So you're like, well, they telling me if I don't take this, they're going to charge me with all this stuff, right? And they might even charge me, what do they call it, concurrent or consecutive? Whichever one where it's like, no, you don't get to serve your time. Like if you did two things bad, your time, and you get a year for both of them, that year starts, January 1, both of those, both of the clock starts for both of those things, right? Now, what they do is say, hey, you're going to serve that 1 year. And after you finish that 1 year, then you're going to do the other year for the other thing, right? So they might hit you with that one. And you're like, man, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and cop to this thing, right? And so it takes money to have a better chance. And that's all it is a better chance. If you can afford to pay for counsel, it's definitely no guarantee because you still got to deal with the jury. You still got to deal with the fact that depending on who you hired, even if you can pay for an attorney, how many hours can you actually pay for, right? The state has all of these resources at their disposal, right? And then they also may have, testimony from police and other folks that many in society just blanket look at them as the paragons of truth. And although we're seeing more and more, well, we've seen it, but we see more and more evidence of lying on written statements, police corruption, just all types of things. Most jurors take the cops as the gospel. Now, Uvalde is definitely shining some light on it, and it's tragic, right? It's such a hard feelings, right? Because you don't want children to be murdered like that. At the same time, this is what the black community has been saying forever in regards to the police. And everyone tells us, well, you shouldn't resist. You should have cooperated. It ain't like that. Who you gonna believe, me or your lying eyes? You brought it on yourself. You deserved it. We get every inhumane excuse and reason tossed at us. And now when the other group actually needs their folks to support, protect, and serve, and they don't do it, it's this huge rude awakening. It's this shock. They can't believe it, right? And what the mainstream media is not going to tell you is many of the parents in that area were very right wing, very, Blue Lives Matter and everything else. So there was no kind of nuance. They couldn't hear or understand what black people were saying in regards to police brutality or straight up murder. And then they see the fear. And maybe even worse, the lies. And it's like, wait a minute, but we support you. We're on your side. Watch so many videos of primarily white women get pulled over by the police for DUI or something else. And she's pleading with them and, I support you and Blue Lives Matter and, I this and that. And when they don't give her a break and let her off, then she turns on them, right? It was one crazy video. She started saying that the officer, sexually assaulted her. It's all on, the body cam is rolling the entire time, right? And she's going through all of these iterations. She's screaming, to passerbys that she's being assaulted by the police officer. She's doing and saying whatever she can to try to get out of this thing. It's like, wow, man. Wow. Then she's, saying he's got a small member and, you know, he's this and that, calling him everything but a man of God when she doesn't get her way. It's like, well, but for us, we're making it up. We're exaggerating. We deserve it. If you just complied, if you just didn't break the law, you'd be all right. Somehow, when we're unarmed or a gun is on the seat, there's a video, I couldn't even show that one. Cop shot a pregnant black woman 5 times. She, they got pulled over. I don't know if it was like potentially a stolen car or something, right? Again, whack material possessions, stolen car, pulled over. The driver, he gets out, he runs. A couple cops chase after him. And then they tell her to, get out the car and then lay on her stomach. And she's like, I can't, I'm pregnant. They don't give a shit. You know how the cops get, where they're just yelling at the top of their lungs. I said, get down, get on your effing stomach right now, get down. And like she's talking to him and say, I can't. Her hands are up, I can't. And so I think she told him, now she's out of the car, right? There's no one in the vehicle. They can clearly see there's no one in the vehicle. So she tells him, I believe there's a gun in the car, right? Don't even, don't use any less lethal means. She tells them that she's pregnant repeatedly, why she can't lay down on her stomach. And they shoot her 5 times. And I haven't seen the update on, she's still alive, but I haven't gotten the update on whether or not the baby survived. I mean, her stomach was red, So who knows if that baby survived. But again, New York guy can surrender with his AK, and it's all good. Another dude I watched today, another black guy. Cop pulls up. He's late on the scene. As he's getting out, he yells the command for him to put his hands up or do whatever. I mean, literally, he is getting out of the vehicle and shoots and kills him pretty much instantaneously. Like there was no time for the black man to respond to the command. It's like, put your hands up. I mean, it was like that. Dead. And then, of course, the thin blue line says you got to support what your people do, whether it's right or wrong. So then they come out and say, well, he had to do it because he didn't know if he had a gun and, public safety and police safety, and they have to be safe, right? And I was like, oh, so wait a minute. You don't know if the dude got a gun or not. You're late on the scene. You just come in shooting. But in Uvalde, you got the military power of the Ukraine, and you ain't going in the building. That story is super crazy, man. Super crazy. But, when they say, I'm not a big supporter of toxic masculinity, I think that is a indoctrination teaching point, especially when they only teach it the one way, right? It's only toxic masculinity. They don't talk about toxic femininity. and how that manifests itself. That's never a conversation. But anyway, they it's tough to watch, right? It's tough to watch. So not only could you go in a grocery store and be murdered, you can go into a church, you can be outside of a church, you can be in a school, you can get pulled over for a traffic infraction, and that might go sideways. And well, what they say. Are you overcompensating for something? And should you be an officer if you got a gun? I don't know if they carry nightsticks anymore. Pretty sure they do. Stun gun, pepper spray, body armor, shotgun in the car, dogs, partners, riot riot vest or riot shield. I mean, holy crap, man. How much do you need? How much do you need? But you needed to shoot that pregnant woman 5 times. And she was a clear and present danger. And it's interesting how that's who they were afraid of and who they need to immediately take action on. But for those that are armed to the teeth, all of a sudden they're calm and relaxed, and that person could be apprehended without a scratch on them. And they've killed, murdered a bunch of people. And it's like, how the hell is that possible? Make that make sense. And yeah, it's true. Those aren't the same officers. It's a different city. However, right, there's too many examples for that to be a viable excuse or reason. It's happening everywhere. So that don't work. It does not. Look at that. We getting it. We getting it. We are getting it. These over here, can I see where my shadow is? That's another 12. So that's 48 candles here. Well, is it 12, 14? Woo, man, I got a long day tomorrow. It's at 11:30. I've got Kids at Public Health. Dr. Gib Morrow will be on. And then at 2 o'clock, we will be recording uh, internal trainings for KCR for their employees. So it's pretty cool that the Conduit as a media company is growing and expanding the list of services that we provide. And then I got to haul my little booty out to Silverdale for Layla's performance. So I'm so excited about that because I haven't seen her perform since COVID. So I'm constantly asking her, like, sweetie, when are you gonna perform? When are you gonna perform? I don't know, Daddy. I don't know. I don't know. She finally lets me know. It's like, oh, I'm so excited. All right. So probably Papa will go and get a bunch of pictures and cheer my baby on at 5:30 tomorrow. And then Saturday, got my show with the Rev at 1. And then we'll be set up at Faith Temple at 1. Still got to make sure I got someone to staff that booth. And then you will see me there around, I'd say like 2:15. Take me a minute to drive over there. I mean, a minute, like 10 minutes to drive over there. So I will have to do that. And it's a nice full day. And then what's happening Sunday? Oh, I don't know. Ooh, but I did get some really good news. I will be having my back surgery this Friday coming up. Not tomorrow. Next week. Next week. And I am so amazed that they are getting me in so fast. Usually, like I was saying yesterday, it can take a while, right? And they are not making me go through the steroid injections this time. They're just putting me straight on in. And although I'm going to be hurting a little bit more, they're going to do both sides of my spine at the same time. So, you know, uh, that's good. I will take it. So I'll be hurting a little bit, you know, but, it's going to, let's see, what is that next weekend? Next weekend, what's today's date? The 3rd? It'll be the 10th. So I'm searching the 10th. Something is going on the 11th. Oh, the Boys to Men event at the Marvin Williams Center. So, yeah, I'm definitely gonna need some help for that because I will not be able to carry anything heavier than that's got to weigh less than a gallon of milk. So, yes, I will be working the next day. I do not have time to take off. I will be at work that Saturday morning doing what we do. Then the following weekend, we'll have the film festival and then Juneteenth. So I am actually not hot. I have a fresh cut. As you can see, I've got my hair grease over there. It's this really nice smelling oil that I put in my hair when I cut it. Oh, just once you get a fresh cut and you get that oil on there, oh, it just feels so good. So I just let it sit on there. So I'm actually kind of chilly. I need to put on a sweatshirt. Um, but anyhow, I've been on here for an hour and a half already. Look, I got to get to pouring these candles, right? I got to put the dye in. I still got to let them cool down. Some of these are going to have scents. I got 48 candles to pour. Uh, actually, I got, 12, 24, 36, 48. And then over here, I've got 60 candles that I need to pour. Uh, so, I got to get to it. It's already 12:30 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? I got to get some sleep at some point in time. What I'm going to do, get up at 5 and try to get this thing done? Oh, boy. Anyhow, all right. For you night owls, get some sleep. I'm Marwan Cameron. This is the condo. We will see you in a few hours. For Sheezy.